Alright, here's a quick strat on conflict of nations. In more cases than not, will guarantee you a victory. As long as you're consistent with it. And you're paying attention. So I'm just picking my country, getting it all straight with the guys in chat. Get in, check surroundings a bit, get my units on the move. Had a selection issue, so I just mass selected you. Did my research, or no, I didn't. I didn't do my research yet. We had to get the coalition going. Now I'll do my research instantly into the infantry and air. Get to build my bases. As soon as they're done, I build bases in every city. As soon as they're done, pump out them infantry. And make sure you got that arms industry up in your in your capital. So as soon as you finish it, you can start building that air. Just getting everything straight. Coalition, messaging neighbors. It's important in this game to do a bit of diplomatic stuff, even if you're just like trying to keep the peace temporarily. You end up seeing that like my houses here are not that good. In the later game, anyway. It's not really noticeable here in this first video. I assumed that we had a 5-man coalition, but it turns out it was only 3. So I was messaging a couple of these people to get or to join the coalition. But one of the guys in the group said in the Twitch chat that it was only a 3-man. There you go, I'm building all my units up. Forgot about that city to the south, but it's no big deal. Checking all my neighbors' ranks. Important to check everybody, know what you're going against. Looking at my allies' neighbors in South Africa. checking cities and everything. Always check cities so you can see what they're building. It can give you an idea what units they're going for and what strats. Seeing a lot of these resources were put up cheap, man, so I just bought them all out. Had the cash for it. I end up struggling with the cash here later, but I end up reselling some of them resources at a higher price, so I make profit. In this strat, your main focus is your first army base, whatever area you're going, or like you start with your air base, and it's important to always build, max out them arms industries. On specifically on the resources that you need. Setting up waypoints, very important. They're not permanent. I change these waypoints over and over again, but I always set them up. Keep a unit on your capital, at least a couple in your city, or I mean within your territory, 2 to 3. Looking at the strike fighters, I do end up going strike fighters and fighters. Fighters, strike fighters, infantry. And I absolutely dominate. This game we're up against, there's a solo player. I'm not like completely solo. You end up seeing, once I get all these uploaded and shit, but my team was not doing that great. I mean, at most, they were an illusion of a defense. And there was a point where our whatever the fuck, what is it, Uruguay, who ends up taking over Argentina and replaces South Africa. He does help in base defense for me, like mid-game. Which, I mean, I'd have lost my capital, which would have been pretty devastating, but it wouldn't, it'd have slowed me down by like a day or some shit. It wouldn't have been a big deal. But in this game, I say we, but I'm pretty much up against a rank 109 player. It's definitely the highest player I've ever seen in the game, or that I've went up against in the game. That was just a loading screen of me jumping in. I was in another game and I came back. I waited until I'm on the border. My units are about to go in before I ever send my air in. You can go into the diplomacy tab and start a war from there, which is like the more legitimate way to do it instead of like an invasion. Here I am checking the news feed because these neighbors are in war. So I'm like checking out their losses and everything to get an idea of how much they have lost in their wars. If you notice, they've lost like 2-3 units. That's 2 or 3 more units that you have compared to them. Either in the next video or the next two. Like I said here, you see I changed these waypoints over and over again. Don't go straight for cities, go for land plots. It'll starve them of their manpower and their cash income. And then you just clean up. And also in this circumstance where this dude's getting pushed from the north by Ecuador, you get your units up and in to where you can cut off Ecuador from taking more land and more cities. It doesn't fully pay off, but as far as like cutting him off, but I end up taking him. I end up going to war with like 3-4 different nations here in the next game. Me playing in this coalition, man, is like, if you could hear the actual me on the microphone and shit, man, it's pretty frustrating. Not sure if I did it already, but I ended up building an air base up north here somewhere. I think it's in some of this land that I capped here. That was a cutout from when I went to sleep, got back on. Checking out my neighbors or my allies to see what all they've been doing. Check them first before I even worry about my units. My units are already in motion. Steadily adjusting those waypoints. Checking victory points to see how I compare to everybody else and how my allies compare. I finished this game with like 4,000 and something before I finally leave the coalition and just do a solo victory. That goes to show you how much more. Second runner up was or not the second runner up, but like in the coalition was Uruguay or whatever it is, east of Argentina, and he was only at like 1,200 maybe. So here I am, just kind of set all my waypoints up, and I'm just AFK for a minute. Most of the time watching videos or whatever. I don't know why I didn't speed this one up. Constantly checking the scores and my neighbors and everything. Within 2 days, I only attacked this one city. And I'm pushing in for the attack on that southern city. As you can see, Ecuador ended up taking that western city that I tried to cut him off from. He went through the water. So here I am watching more videos. That's all sped up. Land cats. Uh, Land caps, your waypoints, and I mean attention to what your neighbors are doing, of course. What your neighbors are building, what they're doing, who are they at war with. All these things are important to kind of keep up with. Your research, your building. But you can't go wrong with air and infantry from the start. As with anything. I mean, you could go with infantry and tanks, or infantry, tanks, and mid-game bombers, or whatever. Like, the main thing is that you focus on. Your main focus should be 2 different units early game, and pumping those units out. Once you get into like later game, then you start worrying about other units, or like certain circumstances come up where I think it'll be like probably in the next video or something, but like we had a situation where I ended up going with Corvettes, and that wasn't my intention. My intention was to keep boosting my air and infantry. But I mean, even without, you could have gone with the naval bombers or something. Yeah. Build an airport to the south there. That's almost done for me to start pumping out more air. Still got to build another arms industry there. But as you see, I'm checking out my neighbors and what they're doing here. This dude, Argentina, actually somehow gets knocked back by homeboy. Uruguay or whatever the name of that country is. See, here I am checking out Colombia's losses and Ecuador losses. I'm checking out this dude's losses. This definitely was a crazy game, man. I've yet to play a game where I didn't join a coalition, but like I should, cause like I'm good enough to not need a coalition. There was like ready to build an air, or I was like checking the air, but I still need an arms industry right